almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't.
End quote. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a heated debate taking place in Washington, D.C. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas is at the center of the controversy, passionately defending diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, programs, which are under attack by a new Republican-led bill. This proposed legislation, known as the Dismantle DEI Act, has ignited fierce debates, not just in Congress, but across the country. Let's break it all down, end quote. End quote. During a recent House Oversight Committee meeting, Republican lawmakers pushed forward a bill aiming to dismantle DEI initiatives at the federal level. The session quickly turned tense, with several Republican members, including Representative Clay Higgins from Louisiana, describing DEI policies as and #039, oppressive and #039, to white men. Their arguments triggered a strong rebuttal from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who had this to say, end quote. End quote. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes, across an ocean, and forced into labor, end quote. End quote. Crockett's comments have since gone viral, earning both praise and criticism. While some celebrated her for boldly addressing systemic inequalities, others accused her of fueling division. Crockett didn't back down, later posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, where she stated, "I didn't bring race into anything. They did and always do." She called out what she sees as attempts to rewrite history and dilute the definition of oppression, end quote.
You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean?
End quote. Let's talk about the bill at the heart of this debate. The Dismantle DEI Act, introduced by Representative Michael Cloud of Texas, proposes the closure of all federal DEI offices and the elimination of DEI-related programs. Cloud argues that these initiatives foster division and inefficiency, claiming they undermine merit-based systems. Here's what Cloud said in a recent statement, end quote. DEI programs masquerade as fairness while instead fostering division, inefficiency, and discrimination in our institutions. They waste taxpayer dollars and undermine the merit-based principles that have made America strong. End quote. Despite these claims, DEI programs were originally created to address disparities in hiring, education, and other areas where systemic discrimination exists. Supporters argue that dismantling them could reverse years of progress toward equity, end quote. End quote. The bill passed its first major hurdle on Thursday, clearing the House Oversight Committee in a party-line vote of 23-17. It's now poised to move to the House floor for further debate, end quote. End quote. Congresswoman Crockett didn't hold back during the meeting, pointing out the hypocrisy she sees in the arguments made by some Republican lawmakers. Here's another powerful moment from her speech, end quote. End quote. It is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed. That is not the definition of oppression. End quote. This isn't the first time Crockett has clashed with Republicans over DEI. Back in September, during a hearing on broadband equity programs led by the Biden administration, Crockett called out what she described as the GOP's fear of diversity, stating, end quote. End quote. This election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you have to pay attention to the qualified black woman on the other side, end quote. End quote. Her remarks underline a key point of contention. DEI programs are designed to level the playing field, but critics argue they prioritize race and gender over qualifications and merit, end quote. End quote. The fight over DEI isn't limited to Congress. Crockett has also spoken out about the lack of diversity in Texas colleges and universities. In an interview with BET earlier this year, she criticized these institutions for relying on black athletes to boost their sports programs while failing to promote diversity in other areas. She said, end quote. End quote. When it comes to making sure they and #039, re-admitting diverse students and making sure the administration is reflective of the student body, they don and hashtag 039T want that. They want everything else to be lily white except for those fields, and I and hashtag 039 am tired of it, end quote. End quote. These comments reflect a broader issue, the ongoing struggle to ensure that diversity and equity are not just buzzwords but meaningful principles guiding education, government, and the workplace, end quote.
You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean?
End quote. As the Dismantle DEI Act moves forward, the debate is expected to intensify. Supporters of the bill see it as a step toward eliminating what they perceive as unnecessary bureaucracy and favoritism. Opponents, like Congresswoman Crockett, warn that it could roll back decades of progress in addressing systemic inequalities, end quote. End quote. This debate isn't just about DEI, it's about the values we want to uphold as a society. Should we prioritize equity and inclusion, even if it means challenging traditional notions of meritocracy? Or do DEI initiatives go too far, as critics claim, end quote. End quote. What do you think about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's passionate defense of DEI? Do you agree with her stance, or do you side with those who argue that these programs have outlived their usefulness? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below, end quote. End quote. Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more in-depth discussions on the issues shaping our nation. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged, end quote.